Today we're going to make Indian flatbread stuffed with mashed potatoes, called Aloo Ka Paratha.
Chef Anupi Singla, author of The Indian Slow Cooker and Indian Vegan Cooking, generously provided us with this recipe and phoned in with tips on how to prepare it. Anupi also designed the lovely spice box that I use in this video. Because of our schedule, we opted to make the potato filling the day before. It keeps well in a covered container in the refrigerator.
First I start by peeling potatoes for about 4 cups. Now we're going to cut them into, I don't know, 6, depends on the size of the potato. Actually, this big one's going to get cut into 8. These are Yukon Gold potatoes. You can choose the kind you think are most flavorful. When we cut them into chunks, then we put them into room temperature filtered water, because you want the temperature of the water to come up the same time that the potatoes are cooking, getting warm. Now I'm going to take these to the stove and cook them on bring them up on relatively high heat, and they'll end up cooking between 10 and 15 minutes. And I'll put a heavy pinch of salt in. Well, it's been about 15 minutes, and potatoes are tender, so I'm going to turn them off and drain them. I'm going to mash them up. The handy dandy masher. Now I'm going to mince the onion. Now that that's ready, I'm going to heat up oil and put the spices on. Using this beautiful spice tin. I'm going to use a tablespoon of grapeseed oil, or whatever oil you choose to use. We're going to use a teaspoon of cumin seeds and a teaspoon of turmeric.
A drop of water.
So we can see it's hot enough now. Heaping teaspoon of cumin seeds and a level teaspoon of turmeric. When it gets mixed like this, after about 30 seconds, you add the onion. And you cook this for about 2 minutes. I'm going to turn the heat down a little until the onions become tender. Now we're going to add these back to the potatoes. At this point, you add in all the rest of the spices. You'll see them listed in the recipe below.
I am adding a teaspoon of chili powder, 1 tablespoon of garam masala, and 2 teaspoons of coarse sea salt. You can also add the 2 or 3 chopped chilies, 1 teaspoon of mango powder, and a 1/4 cup of dried fenugreek leaves to taste, or if you find them available.
The potatoes and the onions should be cool enough by now to be able to put your hands in, and this is what Chef Anupi suggests you do so that you can make sure that there's no lumps in it, so that later on when you roll it out, it'll be a smooth mixture. There we have a nice smooth potato mixture. We'll be using it tomorrow. So now we're going to make the bread dough, or the roti. This dough consists of 2 parts chapati flour, or finely ground durum flour, and 1 part water and a little bit of oil. I'm going to make half a recipe. The recipe listed below is a full recipe. So I'm going to need a little bit more than 300 grams. If you cannot get chapati flour, you can substitute white whole wheat pastry flour, 1-to-1, or you can substitute 2 cups of whole wheat flour and 1 cup of white unbleached flour, or white all-purpose flour. You're going to put a little extra flour in a shallow dish to keep near you when you're rolling. So, you're going to combine the flour and the water and the oil in the food processor. Food processor works best for me. You can do it by hand in a bowl. So here's the water. I have 3/4 cups of water for this amount of flour. Half a tablespoon of oil. Again, you can choose what oil you want. I'm using olive because this is going to give it a nice flavor, in my opinion. So you see, you just do it until it comes together. Okay. What you should have is a really nice, even dough, about the consistency of pizza dough. At this point, I'm going to go and turn on my frying pan to get it heated up, because it takes a few minutes for my heavy iron skillet to heat up. You want it to be, the heat of the frying pan to be medium high. The whole situation with this dough, apparently, is that you don't want to get it too dry and overworked. You want it to remain moist and supple and delicate. So what you do is you cut off a piece and you make a ball about the size of a golf ball. Now that's a little much, I think. That's a big golf ball. So I'll put that back there. And while I'm working this dough, I'm always going to keep this covered so it doesn't get dry. So you make a golf ball in your hands. Don't overdo it. Then flatten it out between your palms. And then you start to roll it out. Just getting a little dusting of flour on it so it doesn't stick. Now, I may have been right to use more dough because this is not a very big piece. So we'll make a small one at first, which is fine because oftentimes the first one is not always the best one because your pan is not up to heat. But it still give you an idea of what we're doing. And then when we'll come back and make another one after this. So normally we put about a tablespoon of filling. I'm going to put a little bit less than a tablespoon of filling in here because this is small. And normally you roll it out to about 4 or 5 inches to get to this point. But this is the same thing, just tiny bit smaller. So you take one end and put it to the middle, and the other end, and meet it. The other end, the side, put it in the middle, and the other end, meet it. So your dough, you want to, hopefully it's wet enough, and this feels like it is, it'll seal on its own. Tiny, tiny bit of flour. I turn it over, and then you roll it again. Now, if I was Chef Anoopy, I'd be much better at this, but I'm not. It's just me. Okay, you can turn it over again and roll it. Now what we got going here is some of the filling is coming out on the edge. But again, she assured me that it won't be inedible for that reason. So you want to get it probably around 1/8 of an inch thick. And now it's ready. And put it on your hand and take it over to the frying pan. Well, it feels like it's heated up. Just pop it in the pan. The cooking times on these for every stage is 30 seconds approximately. Again, it'll vary with the heat of your pan. I'm going to turn it up to medium high heat. One other tip that Chef Anoopy told me was that once you turn this over and it's no longer just dough, that's 30 seconds. So we're going to check. If the sides are starting to get a little dry and it moves easily in the pan, like that did, then it's time to turn it over. What you're going to see is some whiteness and some places where it doesn't look cooked, but that's okay. That's what it's supposed to look like. After you turn it over, you can take a paper towel to protect your fingers and gently press down to get it good contact with the pan. The next step, when you turn it over again, you're going to coat it with a little bit of oil or butter or ghee, your choice. I've got some ghee here. So I forgot to turn the 30-second timer on, but you know, I can kind of guess, and I know what it's supposed to look like on the other side, so let's look at it. Yeah. If it has some brown on it, that's a good thing. Could have a little more brown on it. But again, this is the first one. So just get a little bit of ghee on there. And this time I'm going to do 30 seconds again. For real this time. See how it's starting to puff? That's what you want. And just a few seconds left, so I'm going to turn it over because a little more ghee on it, on that side. And you can see it puffing again, which is beautiful. Pressing the edges so they get in contact with the pan. You can see this area where the filling came out a little bit, but didn't harm the paratha. Looking good. Check the brownness on the other side. And that could be a little bit longer. Okay. So there we have it. While we make the second one, we're going to move the pan from the heat so it doesn't get too hot and roll out the next one.
That was the first of 5 flatbreads. I repeated the process until I'd finished the paratha or roti dough, and making the subsequent breads just a little bit bigger. And as the pan became hotter, I liked that the bread browned more. We ended up with 5 6 or 7 inch size paratha from a half recipe. So a full recipe should yield 10 to 12 total potato stuffed flatbreads. I have to emphasize, even though we're no experts at these, we were really pleased with the results. So don't be afraid to try them.
So that is our first attempt at Aloo Ka Paratha. We're going to try them here. Actually, when you get done with them, you can serve them immediately. You can serve them with butter, yogurt, Indian pickle. They're great with soups and salads. And I'm not sure this is exactly how they're supposed to look, but we'll see if they come up to taste. There we go. There you go.
Well, they look good to me. Very, very tasty. If you like Indian spices, you'll love these. It's not too strong. Well, they're yummy, and you know that one of the best things about it, you can go from start to finish all within what, a couple hours? Or?
Oh, even less. I mean, I was slow here, but yeah, you can do it. You can do it even less once you get accomplished at it.
Wow, cool. A bread product quickly, a quality one at that.